Hi everyone, Holly Dahl here from Fitzhenry. Sunny Toronto, beautiful weather here. I was going to think of doing this outside, but then I didn't think anybody could see my screen. So anyway, welcome to Fall 2021 Fall presentation. We have a pretty good lineup this fall. I'm going to start with the kids. If I get through all the kids and there's still time, I'll do the adults. If not, I'll do the adults on, if I run out of time, I'll do the adult on a separate recording and send that in. Okay, so we're going to start off with the new Jean Mills novel, The Legend. This is a hockey story. There we go. Okay. So she's done 2 previous novels with us, which all had very, very good reviews. The Legend is the story of a 16-year-old hockey player who gets injured, is unable to play, and hockey, of course, is his whole life. And then his family moves to a small town outside of Ottawa, where he meets another young boy who really wants to play hockey, but whose mother won't let him because it's too expensive to get involved in. And then in the late night one time, the young boy comes running to his door and wants to come in because he's scared of something that happened at his house. So that's one part of the story. The other part of the story is that as part of his grade 11 high school experience, he must do a little bit of community service work. And the job that he lands is helping out at the local radio station called The Legend, talking about different sports related things, and talking about, he convinces them to let him talk about the hockey team, his high school hockey team. So it's a look at, there are a lot of plot twists and turns. She's very good at character development, and each character has a very important role in the resolution of the story. The next one is Second Chances. Sorry, it takes a little bit of time for this screen to change. Second Chances, this is the new Harriet Zaidman. Her last one was the general strike in Winnipeg. This one is dealing with the polio epidemic that happened in Winnipeg in 1955. It's a fictionalized story about a young family. Again, we have a young hockey player who wants to go on to play hockey, but his mother has died and his father said that he can no longer be a member of the team because he has too many chores and stuff to do at home. And at this time, the polio has started to break out, but his father doesn't believe in vaccines, so he doesn't let his kids get vaccinated. And unfortunately, the older son contracts polio and ends up in the hospital. He ends up in the children's isolation ward of the King George Hospital in Winnipeg. And we get a view as to what these kids go through as they're in iron lungs and the different stages as some of them successfully come out of the iron lungs. Some of them don't. Some of them do die, but that's kind of an off stage happening. But we see different characters. There's a little bit of racism in there because there's a young girl who's in the hospital with polio, who's a Métis, and our young hockey player develops a friendship with her, and then one of the other polio children victims says, well, she's Métis, you know, why are you associating with her? So there's a little bit of what's the right thing to do here. Then the young brother also contracts polio through the father's complete mishandling of the situation. So it's dealing with a lot of issues that are actually present today with our problem. Very well written and a good look at what these kids actually went through. When You Least Expect It is Lorna Nicholson's new novel. It's not part of her series, the one-to-one series that we've been doing. This is totally different. Lorna Nicholson was a rower and a coach. This is the story of Holly. It's weird having a story about someone with your own name. And it's the stresses of a 17-year-old girl who wants to be an Olympic rower. Her team is expecting to go over to Switzerland for the summer, only she doesn't make the team at the last minute. She's in the last race and she's not fast enough. And her whole summer was geared around going to Switzerland with her teammates, who are also her best friends, and spending the summer over there. So all of a sudden she's faced with, well, now what do I do? All my plans have been shot. On top of that, she's got problems at home. She's got a new stepdad she's not very fond of. Her mother's pregnant, which throws her completely off. They move into a new house. She's used to being in the apartment with her mom. And she's got all these issues running around. And then she meets an older gentleman down at the rowing club. She's just down there at the time. And he introduces her to single sculling. And he tells her that he will coach her. So we learn all about rowing from a single rower's perspective. And there is a little bit of tragic story behind it, which we don't find out until about three-quarters way through the story. He was a coach for his daughter, and his daughter was at very high level. But then one day she went out on her own. Her dad told her not to, but the lake looked fine, beautiful weather, only there was a storm coming in that she didn't know about, and she got caught in the storm and she drowned. So her voice appears in poetry about halfway through between the different chapters. So it's a really interesting aspect. Very well written. A Soft Place to Fall. On the next page is a first novel by Tanya Christensen about a young boy. He's 14 going on 15. It happens in a small community in BC, although it could happen in any small community, really. The boy's mother left when he was 5, and the father worked for a carnival. So they traveled around all over the place, never settling in one place for any length of time. So the boy never really got to develop any close friends or any feeling of good schoolwork or anything, because the minute he'd start to settle in, they'd up and move again. But when he turns 14, the dad decides they should stay in one place, and it would help the child and develop friends and stuff. But he can't really fit into a regular school. So they put him into a school next to the high school, and the school's initials spell loser, which doesn't sound too good, but it's actually a special school that has 11 students with a teacher who really takes the time to understand each student and what the problems are, and gets the kids to work together, understand each other, a lot of empathy for each other. But then at the end of it, towards the end of the school year, the teacher announces that she's pregnant and she'll be leaving at the end of the year and not returning. And that really bothers the children because they've become very dependent on her and her teaching methods and the way that she works individually with each child. So it's a good look at how the kids get along, what helps them, and how they get along, what helps them, and what happens when their main force, holding together force, disappears. Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn the page. That's not the final cover. And the author's name, you'll notice there are 2 different names here. Tanya Christensen is her married name. She got married in April, but she signed the contract under Posnikoff. So we've had to change the name on the book to Christensen, because that's what she is now. That's who she is now. Hungry for the Arts, Poems to Chomp On. This is number 3 in this series. We had Hungry for Math and Hungry for Science. This takes different poetry, different fun ways to learn all the different dynamics in the performing arts, textures and everything. And I have a couple of pictures here. Each, when it explains what the art is, that you can tell by the color of the circle here. So here's your circle explaining what it is. They have a lot of fun doing these poems and teaching the different concepts. They're both teachers. The next one in the series is engineering. Then we have a new one by Catherine Austin. This one has been in the works for a while. It's illustrated by Sean Cassidy. He's done a number of books for us. This is some of the artwork here. Excuse me. It's a story of a It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek story. The squirrels thinking there's the girl who continues to always is feeding the squirrels. And they think that, oh, well, this is a constant source of food. I think we're going to kidnap the girls and take her up, the girl, and take her up and hide her in the tree. And then we have nuts whenever we want them. So that's the premise of this one. It's a picture book, ages K to 3. Sorry, just turning here. Here's Bruno Nunes' Hair. This came out in hardcover last year. It was delayed, finally came out, but then all of a sudden now here we have the paperback. Story of a young girl, black girl, who's totally upset with her hair because it's always all over the place. But then her mother gives her a different hairstyle every day and she comes to appreciate her hair. We have a couple of books on this theme right now, which is interesting. It seems to be a popular idea. The next one by Tradewind Books is the Arab Fairy Tale Feast. Sorry, it's just taking a bit to turn here. And we've had Chinese Fairy Tale Feast, Jewish Fairy Tale Feast, and just the regular Fairy Tale Feast. These are some of the insides. So it gives you the tale, and then it gives you a recipe involving one of the aspects of the story. Did really well with the last one, especially the Jewish fairy tale book. And the next one he's doing is The Mysterious Stones, but he's doing it in Spanish. So we had this book in hardcover last year, and he's just doing the Spanish version this time. It's a story about a young boy who's waiting for his father to come back. He sailed off to sea looking, searching for a better life. The boy meets a woman down at the beach who hands him some mysterious stones, and the stones will make him think of his father while he's waiting for him to come back. This is available in a hardcover at $19.95. Finn's First Song is the first bolder title here. I haven't seen any of the insides, but it's by Jerry Daly, whose previous ones were Where Are You Puffling? I believe this will be a staple stitched or saddle stitch, not a glued or anything. So full color throughout, but I haven't seen the story. A Very Silly Beach Rock Band. This is a book about fitting in and accepting people for who they are. So these animals start up a band, but then somebody else wants to come and play with them, but he's not the same as they are. So they have to figure out if they really want to include him. Oops. Then we get into the Erdmann's titles. And for these, I'm going to switch to this file because I have pretty well full PDFs here. Open up, there we go. If I make this bigger, maybe you can see better. Okay, so I Can Help is the story of a young girl who really likes to help people, and based on a childhood experience, actually. And young girl, there's another boy in the classroom who needs a little extra help, and she enjoys, the teacher asks every day who wants to help, and she volunteers. Yes, sure, I'd love to help. And then one of her classmates starts saying, well, why do you want to help him? You know, what's, you know, he's not quite the same as we are. And it makes her kind of question, maybe she shouldn't be helping him. So she stops helping him. And then she's not really happy with the situation, but they move. And then she can't help it. She can't go back and apologize to the guy because she realizes that what she did was wrong. So when she moves to her new school, there's somebody else who needs helping and she volunteers. So the author said that this actually did happen to her, and she always regrets the fact that she never that she let her peer pressure discourage her from helping somebody else. So that's I Can Help. Only Margaret is the story of Margaret, is a picture book biography. This is an Erdmann's original. A lot of their books they buy from European publishers, but this one is their own book that they developed. And it's a picture book biography of Margaret Wise Brown, who of course everybody knows. And she didn't set out to be a children's writer, but she did become obviously a very famous one. And she was a trailblazer for writing kids books at a time when other people didn't think that kids books were really, I keep talking and I'm not showing you the insides here. So it's just what different things that influenced her in convincing her to write kids books. At one point she started to say, well, maybe I should write adult books because adult books are, you know, people read adult books. Nobody reads kids books, but she really loved writing the kids books. Okay, the next one, For Every Little Thing. This is, it's a collection of 51 different voices and a celebration of gratitude, awakening a sense of gratitude in everybody. It's a collection of modern prayers and new poems, and just looking for everything in the everyday life that brings, in the everyday experiences that bring joy and delight. Some well-known poems. Okay, 1 Million Oysters is the next one of the Erdmann's titles. Actually, I think this is available in a French-Canadian version. It was bought from Spanish publishers. Erdmann's bought the English, obviously, but I'm pretty sure there's a French-Canadian publisher who bought the French version. The author is a geologist, and he's taking a look at all about earth science and how here's this mountain here in this picture, but it's actually made up of oysters, fossilized oysters. So then he goes to explain all about fossils and how they happen and the different changes in earth science. It's a really fascinating book. "189 Canaries." This is the story of how the yellow canary made its way over to the US. Originally started on the Canary Islands, obviously, but then it made its way to Germany, and they were used in the mines and stuff to warn the miners. And they were discovered they really liked their songs, so then they started packing them up in cages and sending them over to the US, and families would buy them. Here's an example of a guy. You can see the cages here. They piled them all in cages this high, and he would walk around and buy some canaries, and then he would bring them over to the US to sell them. At the back, there's an interesting back matter all about the history of canaries. And evidently the male canaries learn a new song every year. This is an Italian team. Book about diversity, really interesting. Back here is, well, you can't see it, but hopefully you'll see the cover when you get the PDFs. It's the different adventures of black and white coming together. Really, you can't tell anything from the catalog, so I really hope you get to see these PDFs, because it's a look at the contrast between the black and the white and different images that they can create together. Really is a fascinating book. A Very Hungry Plant. This is a young cactus who's carnivorous and gets very hungry, continuously hungry, and just eats larger and larger characters. So first it's a caterpillar, then it's a butterfly, then it's a spider and a gecko and a rabbit, until you get to the end. So even though it's a bigger cactus, there's always something that's bigger than he is. So in the end, he gets eaten as well. Perfect day are the sights and sounds of nature on a summer day. So, and it's onomatopoeia. So you have the cree, it's going the buzz of the bees, and the croak of the frog, sorry, the whoosh of the grasses or the bird in them, and the snake and the fox and all the different animals contributing to nature's symphony. Very soft colors. Bear with me. This is an Italian author illustrator team about what happens when a big fierce bear comes to visit, and how do you figure out how to get along with the bear? It takes over everything. So it's a book about getting along with other people. Bit of a different type of book. Okay, the next one, Nasreddin. This is originally published in French, and it was an IBI honor book in the French edition. And it's Nasreddin is a popular character in the Middle East, and he and his father have to take things to town. And first he's riding the donkey, and he listens to people who say, "Oh, you know, not a very good son. He makes the father walk." And then they go back to town, and he lets his father walk. And then every time he tries to please somebody, somebody is displeased and makes critical comments. So he has to figure out at the end of it, his father lets him make all these suggestions and go along with it until the end, when he's really, little boy isn't happy, and the father says, "Well, I've let you do all these decisions, but you know what? You can't listen to everybody and expect to please everybody all the time. You have to decide which comments are important and which ones are just critical criticisms." So it's interesting. It's introducing this character to a new audience, and I think the illustrations are just wonderful. That's the end of Erdmann's. Then we get into Tilbury. Move you out of the way. And the first blade of sweetgrass. This is a Native American story. Grandmother is teaching her granddaughter. Yeah, okay. All about harvesting sweetgrass, which has a very important significance in the Wabanaki tribe. It's used for smudging, it's used for baskets, it's used to make gifts. And they harvest it, and one of the important things is you never take the first blade of grass that you see. And this is passing on a tradition, because the grandmother who's showing the young girl, her grandmother taught her. The husband and wife team here, who the husband and the author and the illustrator, she's the author is very interested in bringing back the Lenape traditions of the land, and the husband is a maker of sweetgrass baskets. So quite interesting artwork here. The Little Blue House by the Sea, I don't have anything on, but this came out in hardcover last year, and now they're putting it into a board book. It's a fairly large, it's bigger size board book. It's an 8x6. It had very good reviews from SLJ and from Forward Magazine. And it's just promoting a love of nature, the love of the ocean, although it doesn't have to be the ocean. It could be a lake, it could be a small lake. It's just an appreciation of nature and the things that nature offers. In my neighborhood, I have a PDF for. The illustrator here comes from Brazil, and he was the one who did Boat of Dreams for Tilbury a couple of years ago, which is really more of an adult book, I think. The author here is a Puerto Rican American. He was raised in a very musical family, and he learned the drums so that he could participate in some of the musical get-togethers that his family put on. This particular book is about a drum. It's narrated by a drum, and he feels very inadequate because he can't carry a tune. All the other instruments can carry tunes. And he feels there's something wrong with him until he realizes that he actually carries the band with his beat. And then at the back of the book, it has back matter on the history and role of drums in music. Again, I hope you guys get to see this artwork because it really is amazing.
It's not working. It's not happening right now, but we will look forward to seeing it.
Okay. That'll be something, putting PDFs with the video.
Yeah.
with the sound.
We'll do something.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Crying is Like the Rain. This is a story of mindfulness and feelings. This is the paperback edition. Came out a year and a half ago in the hardcover, I believe. And it's about, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to show your feelings. You don't have to hide them. It's better to experience them and share them. I don't have I don't have the insides of this one. I Am Smoke. The illustrator here is from Spain. Again, when you get the PDF, this is quite unusual, and it's a look at Smoke, like a drum one, the different one. Smoke here is the narrator, and it goes into all of the different uses, harmful and beneficial, of smoke throughout the ages. So it's kind of a history of smoke. Very interesting concept here. So how the Chinese use smoke, how the ancient Greeks, beekeepers use smoke. Smoke is used to preserve food. It's used in religious ceremonies. It's used for medicine. But then it also shows some of the harmful effects of smoke. So, okay, I don't need to scroll through because you can't see. You'll see the PDFs. Skywatcher. I'm going to go back onto Callus. I'm going to go back onto here, and I'm just going to go through as I talk about Skywatcher. Skywatcher is Tilbury as well. And it's a story of a young boy who lives in the city. He's a huge fan of a Skywatcher character in a comic book who, travels throughout the sky and through all the stars and stuff. So he asks his mother, why is it, Mom, that we can't see any stars? And she says, well, it's because of the glut of light that, all cities have all these lights on all the time. You can't see anything. So one night she surprises him by taking him out on a camping trip outside of the city where they can actually see the stars. And he wakes up in the middle of the night and he actually sees the Milky Way. So he sees that there are the stars around. I'm just looking at if I do, I've just noticed that he added some of these pictures. If I do this, can you now see the bit? Can you now see my screen?
Yes, we can. That's great. Yeah.
Well, that's weird. All right. So this is Little Blue House by the Sea. So it didn't like the other share. Ouch. All right. Well, okay. I'll show you some of these. Okay. Here's my neighborhood. So we talked about that one. This is the musical fan, the drum. Doesn't give you very big images, but it gives you something to show anyway.
I think that was the problem Kathy was having this morning. you know, she was trying to share something and it was too big for her files. So maybe that's what's happening.
Oh, I wonder if that's right. Oh, okay. So here's the Crying is Like the Rain inside, which I guess, I mean, you guys can see this when you see the catalog. So I'm just going to go through these kind of quickly. Come on. Modern technology is so much fun, except when it doesn't work. Okay, here's the I Am Smoke. And it looks like that's the only one. No, here's one. All right, here we go. So you can see these are quite unusual. And he used actual smoke to make the illustrations. Okay, Karen Skywatcher. So there he is reading about his favorite character. And here's his mom, who's actually works in the hospital on the night shift. So she has to take a night off in order to take him care. So here are all the city lights. You can't see any stars. So they're there off on the camping trip. And then he's back in town where, of course, you can't see anything. Okay, so then we get into their Acadia files. We're doing autumn and winter in the paperback versions. This is all about science through adventure. There are 5 stories. This one is 5 stories of fall. And then we have the winter, so the 5 stories of winter, bringing scientific inquiry to the kids. So the young girl's parents are scientists and they will never answer her questions directly. They make her go out and discover the sources, the answers, sorry. And again, in paperback, this is Don't Mess With Me is part of their How Nature Works series. And this is all different about all the different venomous animals. Paperbacks and the hardcover is older. And I don't have any insides of this one. And I don't have any insides of the next one, which is Blowholes, Book Eels, and Butt Breathers. So it's how animals use oxygen to survive. This is available in a simultaneous paperback hardcover. So Catalyst won't let us put them on the same page. So in a number of these, you're just going to say, it looks like it's the same book, but it's a different edition. And we don't always put the hardcover first and then the paperback. I don't know who determines the order, but it's mixed up. So, but if you just look in the descriptions, it'll tell you which edition it is. Here at the End of the World, this is also the paperback edition. This is a slightly older book. It's a look at the marine life at the pier from dusk until dawn of the next day. Actually, I think it's from dawn until dusk, but anyway. Then we get into the Lee and Low. The Witch Owl Parliament is the first in a series of 3. This is a graphic novel. Actually, it looks like I have a little bit here. This is available in a paperback at $23.95. It's 112 pages, so it's not a very big one, but it's involving magic and fantasy. The next one, What We Believe. This is an activity book. And this is easy to understand explanations of the principles of Black Lives Matter as set forth from when the Black Lives Matter movement started in 2013. If I Were a Tree, this one is available in a hardcover. And this is a poem, as you can see down below. If I were a tree, I know how I'd be, and onward. But it's a sibling story. The brother and sister go off and camp out overnight. The sister's quite used to camping out at night, but the little brother, it's his first time, so he's a little bit nervous. So the sister helps him, and it's appreciation of nature and being outside and surrounding by nature. We have a lot of nature books on this list. Maybe the kids will be smarter than we were in preserving it. The next one, Kiyoshi's Walk. This is a story of a young boy and his grandfather who take a walk around the city. His grandfather composes haiku, and he can compose it just as they walk around and appreciate things. And by the end of it, the son feels confident enough that he ventures his own haiku. Butterfly for a King. This is about one of these two species of butterflies that's native to Hawaii. This is the state butterfly, but unfortunately, with some of the land destruction, the butterfly is dropping in numbers. So this is a book, an appeal to people to try and bring the butterfly back by resurrecting some of the territory that it used to inhabit. It's the same team that did Parrots Over Puerto Rico a couple seasons ago. Strong as Fire, Fierce as Flame. When I get to here. This is by the same author who did Ahimsa, which garnered a whole bunch of very, very positive reviews. This is about an arranged marriage. A young girl, the marriage was arranged when she was quite young. As she turns 13, the ceremony is supposed to take place, but tragically the night before, the husband is killed in an uprising. And the father of the bride says that, well, as tradition dictates, you need to throw yourself on the burning pyre of your husband. And the girl says, no, I'm not going to do that. So she runs away. She becomes a servant in the house of a high-ranking British officer. And as part of her job, she discovers that the British are stockpiling weapons with which to fight against the colony and to keep them in a colonial state. So she has to try and it becomes a bit of a mystery and adventure story. And it's a YA novel. The Electric Slide. The young boy here wants to learn how to do the electric slide because when they have family get-togethers, everybody dances. Everybody follows the same thing and he doesn't know how to do it. So he has to learn so that he can participate in the family celebrations. Bisotes Flores, Never Forgets. The young girl wants to get a rescue dog, and makes an agreement with her father that if she brings up her grades in two different subjects, he'll let her get a dog. So she's really enthusiastic and starts studying harder and stuff. But then she notices that her sister, who was engaged to be married, starts acting a little strangely, and she talks to her, and her sister says, no, never mind, I'm fine. So she has to decide whether she's going to interfere or who she can ask for help and what she can do to help her sister, because obviously something is not right. And this is geared for kids 9 to 12, and this is available in a hardcover. Magic Like That. This is another story about a young girl who's distressed about her hair. Her flyaway hair always gets in, doesn't know what to do about it. So again, her mother dresses it different ways, and she comes to love her hair. My Magic Wand. This is a year of activities throughout the seasons, organized by seasons. I haven't really seen much in here, so I can't say much about it. Boy Everywhere is another novel. The Lee and Low used to be really heavy in picture books and stuff, and they're getting much more into novels now. And they're really interesting novels. They get very good reviews. This one, Boy Everywhere, is a middle grade novel about a 13-year-old. He's a Syrian refugee, becomes a Syrian refugee. He's growing up in Damascus. He asked his mom to get him something at the mall. His mom and his sister go to the mall, and there's a bombing, and they're injured. And this spurs the family. I mean, things have been getting worse and worse and worse, violence all the time. Dangers have been increasing constantly. So they decide that they're going to leave Syria. So it's a look at what their life is like. It's a look at what their life is like as a refugee, and also what happens to them when they arrive in the new country. Everything is totally different. How do they handle it? He's not, people don't really know the Syrians, so it's quite an experience of what it's like for the refugees coming. Then we get into their reading series, the Confetti Kids, Pablo's Pet. This is the series that has a lot of diverse characters, and many of them appear in the different stories. So, beginner reader, here we are. This one's dealing with the death of a pet. Protest, same series. And you can tell what the level is by looking at this emergent here. And here's this level. This is about the kids who are organizing a protest because the local park, somebody wants to turn it into a parking lot. The kids obviously don't want that because they want to keep it, I guess it's a garden, and they want to keep it as a garden. So they start a protest, and it delves into the ideas that can kids make a difference, even though they're just kids. The Shadow Prince, this is the first novel, and this is about Ash, who's was born on the same day as a ruling prince. So that means that it makes him eligible to become a shadow princess, which is somebody who helps the prince throughout his life and in everything. But to become a shadow prince is not just an automatic thing. He has to participate in some deadly tests. There are, of course, some gods involved who want to pick their person because they want to mold him to their ways. And then, of course, there are always candidates that cheat to win too. So Ash has to figure out, first of all, can he survive? Does he have any friends who can help him? And this is a middle grade novel as well. Black Was the Ink by Michelle Cole. She's a civil rights attorney. This is a coming of age story involving time travel. Starts off in Washington, D.C., where a young boy is very unhappy with the treatment he's getting as a young African American, and the violence is escalating. So his mother sends him to his father's family farm in Mississippi. And there he experiences a bit of time travel and ends up in the U.S. South in Mississippi in the 1860s during the Reconstruction era. And he witnesses firsthand some of the Black statesmen's struggles for change. He also witnesses that they're very hard fought gains, but then they're easily lost. So he has to decide what his role is going to be. They have really great covers, I think, on these. Okay, so I'll Build You a Bookcase is an example of one of these that's on more than one page. I've got 4 pages of I'll Build You a Bookcase. I've got it in Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, and Vietnamese. And it's a book promoting early love of reading in children. So here are a few of the insides. So this first one is the English version, is the Spanish bilingual version. And then we've got the Arabic bilingual version. And then we've got the Mandarin, if the page turns. and we follow it by the Vietnamese. That puts us into Peachtree. Now, maybe I'll start this way. I have full PDFs of the Peachtree, but maybe we'll just start this to see whether this is going to work. I'll send you the PDFs as a file so you can see them in better, blown up in better ideas. So first one, Amara's Farm. This is a compare and contrast book. And this is a look at, it's the first in a series of 4 books dealing with different vegetables and fruits. So compare and contrast, with looking at all these different, which one is a pumpkin? These all look differently, different descriptions. Which one is a pumpkin? So she's found her pumpkin. And then at the end of it, it was supposed to be, oh, sorry, we don't show it at the end. I'm going through 5 again. There is a recipe featuring the whatever fruit or vegetable is in the book. I think he's added, sorry, my finger keeps clicking. Okay, so Lana Lynn and the New Watchdog. This is the second Lana Lynn book. The first one, of course, was Lana Lynn, Howls at the Moon. She's an independent protagonist, and she often acts before she thinks. So here they're getting a new watchdog, and a wolf comes by, and she thinks that the wolf is the new watchdog. So she says, "Don't worry, I'll train you." So she's trying to teach him, but she doesn't give him any opportunity to eat any of the lambs, and then he becomes totally exhausted and runs away. And then the next day, here's the actual new watchdog, who's just a puppy. So of course, Lana Lynn decides that she needs to train him as well. There is a author-illustrator question and answer at the back. Bird Count is the paperback edition. We had this last year, a year and a half ago in the hardcover. It's a bird count, a young girl who participates in the annual bird count at Christmas time and all the different rules and regulations. And then, but down the side here, it shows you, she starts the list of all the different birds, and it tells you, you know, what more than one person has to see it. You write it down and all the, how to do the bird counts. So they're all really citizen scientists while they're participants. And bird counts are very popular now. Bruce Stew. This is Fractured Fairy Tales, somewhat based on Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. Curly Locks loves to cook, but nobody likes her cooking. And then these itty bitty scares start coming to town and terrorizing the townspeople. They're in all sizes, a little one, a big one. They come to different people, scare different people. And then inadvertently, one night, Curly Locks leaves one of her baking concoctions on the windowsill and notices the next morning that all the food is gone. It turns out that the itty bitty scares really love her cooking. So the end of the story, she ends up moving out and cooking for them every day, and then the itty bitty scares stop scaring the townspeople because they have a regular chef. The illustrator is the one who did Feast of Peas and Tiger in My Soup. And they're activity kits and a teacher's guide at the back. The Littlest Yak is a first story by this author. It's a rhyming story. It's a celebration of being who you are and being happy with who you are. Story of a little yak who really wants to grow up fast, and she's tiny and wants to be big like the other ones, big and important like the other ones. But you know, mom says, don't rush to grow up, you know, enjoy life. She wants, but then one day she's the only one who can save a yak that's up the mountain, because she's the only one small enough to get up there. So she saves the other yak, and they come back, and she realizes that being small is sometimes really good. Eventually, she'll be bigger like the others, but she's happy being the size she is now. The red truck, yellow truck. This is a hardcover picture book, and it's just showcases the variety of trucks and their uses. A Shelter for Sadness. The author illustrator here are English. These illustrations are quite amazing. There is a teacher's guide at the back of the book as well. This is a safe explanation of difficult feelings and emotional awareness. It's okay to have grief. You will eventually get past the grief. It's okay to experience emotions. It's just perfectly normal. Again, a teacher's discussion guide and a question and answer at the back. Stanley's Library. This is the 8x8 series. And of course, he's a community helper taking around a bookmobile. Books on libraries are really popular with librarians. And it's a cute Stanley character who helps everybody find an appropriate book. I'm flashing through these quickly, but you'll see them when you get to the PDFs too. Lemuel the Fool. This is a Jewish fairy tale about a fisherman who really wants to see the world. He's unhappy in his regular life, so he builds a boat to travel around. And he puts, here he is building the boat. He goes on to build the boat. He puts a flag in front of the boat, and he puts a string at the back of the boat so that he can tell what direction he's going to. But at night, he falls asleep and the boat gets turned around, and he wakes up the next morning and he sees the land, and he's surprised that, wow, that was quick. So he comes ashore and he says, oh, this looks just like where I came from. Well, the world isn't so different after all. And then he goes down the street and, oh, this looks just like my street. And he sees his wife. Oh, you look just like my wife. Then he decides that he's kind of missing his wife. So he gets back in his boat and he sails off. And there's a storm and the boat gets turned around, and he wakes up the next morning and lo and behold, he's back in his own place, which he recognizes as his own place. A fun tongue-in-cheek kind of story. Then we get into Carter Reads the Newspaper. This is the paperback edition. Again, the hardcover came out a few years ago. To rave reviews by everybody. It's the first picture book biography of the father of Black History Month. Carter's parents were born into slavery, but at this time they're free, and they don't know how to read, so he reads the newspaper to them every day, and by doing that, he also learns a lot, and it engenders his interest in knowledge and sharing knowledge. So then he goes on to help others read, other people in the community. In the back matter, there's a timeline, there are author illustrator notes, bibliography, and brief biological sketches of important African American figures. Curious About Fish is one of the small board book series. Here we are here, and this is the other ones in the series were birds, mammals, and insects. So they're part of the SILS, the About Habitat series, but they're in small board books, giving just small, tidbits of information. Just the right size for kids' hands, and colorful. About habitats, Then we get into some of the regular picture books that they do about habitats, tundras. This is a new one in hardcover. They always do the hardcover first, obviously. And this is about the major attributes, what they are, where they're located. It does have a glossary, and it does have an afterword at the back. Husband and wife duo. And then in paperback, they're doing the polar. So what kinds of animals you'll find in the polar, how the animals, oh, don't do that. Okay. Wait a minute, did I hit the wrong one down here? Okay, here we go. So how they adapt to the life, what's important? Oh, I think I just scrolled those. Okay. Save the Crash Test Dummies is available in paperback now. This is front seat view of the science and engineering. Let's get on here. Involved in the safety features that have been developed through the years. A lot of safety features we take for granted, taken many years to develop. So it goes into the history, the technology, and the engineering involved. I think it's a better price in the paperback. The hardcover was more expensive because it was a thicker book. 7.5 Tons of Steel is the story of from 9/11. There was a beam that made as part of the USS New York. I think this is more American. I don't think there's a lot of interest in this one. And then we start their novels. This is the 25th anniversary of the Fred Bowen sports books, and they're totally revamping all the covers. So as the new ones come out, they'll look much more modern, and as the more up to date. And as the old ones, as they have to do reprints, they will start updating the covers too. This particular one is Cold Case about a soccer trophy that was stolen, and two 13-year-olds, they're twins, and they try and solve the mystery of the soccer trophy that disappeared 40 years ago. It is based on a true story of the World Cup soccer trophy that was indeed stolen and never found. And then here's an example. This is just the hardcover. So it's hardcover simultaneous, hardcover paperback simultaneous. We have a new edition of Nina Soni, Halloween Queen. This is number 4 in the series. This one is the hardcover, but then the next page will be the paperback. So it's hardcover, paperback simultaneously. Her big plans for her Halloween costume have gone awry. And she's always got big plans, but they always go wonky, and they always have unexpected consequences. This is an example of the font style. Really easy to read. Illustrations throughout, so it's good for beginner readers. And there's the next one in the paperback edition. And then we get into Mr. Penguin and the Catastrophic Cruise. This is also the new one in paperback. We had it hardcover before. This is number 3. Slapstick humor, full color illustrations, wacky characters, mystery, adventure, fun read. There, that's it. Okay, the Candy Mafia is also the paperback edition. She's a preteen private eye who has her office in her mom's backyard, and her backyard too, I guess. She has to figure out how to solve the crime, and it's a place where candy is outlawed. Any possession of candy is a crime. So but she has to involve the use of the black market candy ring to help her solve this mystery. Now You Say Yes is a new hardcover novel by Bill Hartley. It's an on-the-road story. The adoptive mother dies, so the young girl, wanting to keep herself and her young brother out of the foster care, decides to travel across the country in search of their estranged grandmother. The young brother is a bit on the spectrum, but and he's really interested in the skies and the eclipse. So that's how she lures him to go on this trip with her. And I have PDFs of these novels. If anybody wants to read them, I'd be happy to share them. Yours for Justice, Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells was a U.S. civil rights voice. And this is her story. She wrote an article for the New York Age, which was a popular Black magazine at the time, about a lynching, which sold over 10,000 copies and really started the crusade against the lynching of Blacks in the South. Spectacular Spots. This is a board book. This is Susan Stockdale's signature. And all the uses of spots that animals, all the animal uses of spots. There is a matching game at the back. Match the spot to the different animal. Then we get into two Stanleys in Spanish. And I'm pretty well going to skip over Abraham Lincoln's Dueling Words. And then we get into the Arbordale. Where am I on time? I'm okay. Okay. So the Arbordale, you know, I don't have, I guess maybe I'm not going to go into my PDFs because I'm afraid I'm going to lose everybody. So this one is the story of the flying reptile. It's a type of pterosaur about the size of a giraffe, lived about 66 million years ago. This is Arbordale, so there's a lot of extra back matter in each of them, and there are a lot of references on the net to add to the book for both parent and or teacher involvement. And I was counting on showing insides for all of these. So I don't know whether I should try it, or maybe I'll just share the PDFs with you through Lucy. Natural or man-made is a look at how we convert natural materials into things that we need or want. Plants, trees, animals, sunlight, water, rocks and minerals, and what uses we put them to. Originally, they used to do both hardcover and paperback simultaneously, but lately they're just doing the paperback. Sorry, after the pandemic, they might start up their hardcovers again, but. Otters, river or sea. This is 13 different species, photographs throughout, comparing and contrasting the river otter with the sea otter. The sea otter can sleep, eat, mate, and give birth without ever coming to shore. Really cute photographs inside, showing the otters in different life situations. The Pangolin Revelation. This is a young boy. This is he's given an assignment by his teacher to come up with an animal, create some animal, and then show the different adaptations that that animal uses to survive. So he comes up with all these different ideas, like he gives him a long sticky tongue, he gives him scales, he's able to curl into a ball to protect himself, he's got strong claws. And then it turns out that there is actually an animal that he's created. The animal that he's created, there is an actual animal that exists. And it turns out that it's the pangolin, which is an anteater. So, but it shows the different characteristics. And then at somewhere in each page, there is a picture of an anteater. So it's also kind of spot the anteater. Then they have a book on penguins. There are 18 species of penguins. So what do they all have in common? How are they different? 5 of the 18 are in the Antarctic. The rest are spread out. And at the back, it will show a map of where all the species, different species are. Pooper Snooper. This is a book about dogs who are trained to track endangered animals through their scat. So it saves the scientists having to go out and try and trap the animals and learn about them. The dogs can find the scat and they can be trained for more than one type of endangered animal. Pretty remarkable, I think. Then renewable or non-renewable resources. Again, it's a compare and contrast book. Pretty straightforward. Yay for Big Brothers. Like Big Brothers for humans, there are such thing as Big Brothers for animals. And it shows the different animals like crows, wolves, tamarins, meerkats, beavers, and how the older animals help look after or babysit or get food or other ways that they're helpful for looking after the young ones. That brings us into Starbright. Starbright, we have 21 cousins available in here. This one is the hardcover. We also have it available in the paperback. Turn the page. And further on, we will see it in Spanish. It's a celebration of all the different cultures and habits of families, of extended families. So cousins could come from, 21 cousins, but they could come from all over the place. And it's a celebration of when they get together and meeting of the cultures. Let's Play Outside is also a simultaneous paperback hardcover. So the first edition we see is the hardcover and the next page is a paperback, but I'll give you an inside here. It's just a celebration of playing outside, which now that the weather has changed, we can all do. Kids from all different cultures doing outside activities, whether it's in parks or playgrounds or backyards. The next one, Comings and Goings. All right, let's get into this one. Comings and Goings. This is a picture book. This is the excitement, it's divided into two. So from one side, it's the excitement and the trepidation of a young boy who's going to travel by himself to visit his grandparents. So it shows the preparations that he makes, how he packs and decides what to take. And then on the other side, it's the grandparents showing what they're doing in expectation of his arrival. So that if they're going to buy him gifts or where they're going to take him or what they're going to do. So it's showing both sides. And here are some. So they're anticipating what the activities they're going to do with him and their excitement of his arrival. And then here's the paperback edition. So if you see two books that look exactly like the same, just look at the editions. Starbright is great for paperbacks, hardcover simultaneous. Mouse and Mole, I've got several of these and also in paperback hardcover. So this is a series of 4 stories. They're planning a picnic, but what happens if it rains? Or what happens if it's really cold out? Or, come on, open. Okay. Mouse and Mole. And then you'll see it again in the hardcover. And then Mouse and Mole have a party. Again, these two are collaborating, working on what to do for a party. It's a collection of 3 stories here, and it's really their misadventures and what they do together. 2 editions again. What's in the Truck is a Lift the Flap book. So what's in the ice cream truck, and then you lift the flap and you see the different things there. "21 Primos" is the Spanish 21 Cousins. Paperback only. And then "Please Don't Give Me a Hug" is a book on touch sensitivity. So not everybody is happy with somebody coming up and hugging you. There are some kids, especially on the autism spectrum, who don't want to be touched. So this is a book, it's okay. There are other ways, other things you can do. You can say hi, you can still be friends. Just don't touch me. And it's a board book. The smaller size of 4x6 board book. Happy Days for Mouse and Mole. Again, a hardcover, paperback simultaneously. 3 more stories. And then when we're not dealing with Mouse and Mole, well, I've got another very special house for Mouse and Mole. Sorry, it's a celebration of the small moments. Again, hardcover, paperback. Here's some of the insides. And then, sorry, here's a paperback. Next one is Sari and Derry and the Treasure Map. So again, this is going to be a hardcover paperback simultaneous. These are 8x8. There are activity sheets in it, and it's about finding a treasure. Unfortunately, I don't have any insides to show you, but there have been other Sari and Derry books. And then we have the Sari and Derry build a birdhouse together. And we're going to see this in hardcover paperback together here. And I don't have any insides. Show Me How to Visit the Doctor. This is a paperback, about 5x6. And for kids who first time visiting the doctor and a little scared about what goes on, it's just showing what a typical visit to a doctor would be like. This is the English version. I also have it available in a Spanish-English bilingual. Of course, the illustrations that I have here are from the English version, but then we get into the reading series that they have. Oh, there it is, right, okay. So Pinwheel Days, this is a, it's all leveled, and the number up here indicates the reading level. This book in particular is a book to instill confidence and independent reading skills. We had this in hardcover before. This is the paperback edition. Friends at Night is also a level 3 reader. Also in the paperback edition. They're bringing back Brian Wildsmith's illustrated Bible stories. They've done a lot of, they bring back a lot of the Brian Wildsmith books. The publisher, Deborah, really likes Brian Wildsmith illustrations, and they've done really well with them. This is both the Old and the New Testament stories, originally published in 1968. And they're bringing the next one, small, medium, large, into more of a trade paperback. Well, it's hardcover paperback simultaneously, but when they originally brought this book out, it was oversized. Great book, but really hard to shelve. So they're bringing it now into more of it'll be an 11 by 8.5 size. And it's a lot of fun. Oh, and I only have one illustration here. But it was out before, but hard to sell because of its size. Geared for 3 to 7 year olds. And a paperback hardcover simultaneously. I didn't say that. And that's the kids line. So we've got 3:22, which gives me 8 minutes to do the adult, which I don't think I'm going to try. So I think what I'll do is record the adult on a separate time and then send it to you, Lucy, and maybe you could distribute it for me.